Pero ang mahalaga dyan kasi, yung yung kanyang pagbibigay ng mensahe na makakarating hanggang sa simpleng tao. Yung mauunawaan ng tao yung kanyang mensahe, yan talaga yung mahalaga sa
Yung
SONA.
tatatak, magdudulot ng pagkakaisa at pag-asa sa kabila ng mga kinakaharap natin na problema.
Medyo aabangan natin yan dahil na-lift na yung state of public
Yun nga,
emergency.
saktong-sakto.
Hindi natin alam kung ano na yung plano ng administrasyon matapos itong pag-lift na.
O yung public health emergency.
Oo, ibig sabihin kasi yan, parang wala ng pandemya, ito na yung formal na nilift ng gobyerno. So isa yan sa nakikita natin na dapat abangan doon sa talumpati ng Pangulo, Rosalie.
May tuturing din makasaysayan dahil sa pagsapit ng ika-isang taon, di ba, sa pwesto ni President Bongbong Marcos Jr., wala na tayong umiiral ng public health emergency.
I think isa yan sa mga nabanggit din ng Pangulo nung kanyang unang SONA. At nung inaugurasyon niya, yung panunumpa niya sa tungkulin, gusto niya tumutok dun sa economic recovery na yung mga hakbang, paano ba iaangat na yung kabuhayan ng mga tao, yung ekonomiya sa kabila na naging epekto ng pandemya. So nakikita natin ngayon, bago umakyat ang Pangulo dun sa rostrum, dun sa area ng dun sa plenaryo, ay kinamayan muna niya yung mga guest dito sa harapan.
Sinalubong siya. Mainit na pagsalubong ng mga guests dyan sa plenary hall.
So sinalubong na siya ngayon ni Senate President
Juan
Miguel Zubiri,
Ganun
House
din
Speaker Martin Romualdez. Inasistihan siya makakit na. So yan na yung magiging hudyat na pag-i-start ng joint session ng Kongreso. Abangan natin yan. Ito na lang, 1 minuto na lang for 4 p.m. eksakto para sa pagsisimula ng joint session ng Kongreso.
On the part of the Senate, the joint session is hereby called to order. On the part of the House of Representatives, the joint session is called to order. Please remain standing for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem to be led by Ms. Lara Marie Moscardon Maigi.
Payang magiliw, perlas ng sinanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw. May dilag ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagnilingning. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng luwalhati pagsinta. Buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may manghahapi ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Please remain standing for the nation's prayer. Kindly bow your heads in prayer. O Diyos na
Alright.
Ayan, napanood nila ang pagsisimula at pagpasok ng ating Pangulo para sa kanya ikalawang SONA sa plenary hall.
Samantala, isa sa pinakaabangang mga yugto sa buhay ng Pangulo ay ang kanyang State of the Nation Address o SONA. Alamin natin kung bakit nga ba ito ginaganap taon-taon. Ang State of the Nation Address o SONA ay ang taunang tradisyon na talumpati at obligasyong konstitusyonal kung saan iniuulat ng Pangulo ng Pilipinas ang kalagayan ng bansa at ang mga plano nito sa mga susunod na taon ng kanyang termino.
Sa ganitong pagkakataon din iminumungkahi ng punong ehekutibo sa lehislatura ang ilang mga batas na nais nitong maipasa dahil dito nagsasama-sama ang mga kasapi ng Kamara at Senado sa loob ng batasang pambansa sa Quezon City. Kadalasang ginaganap ang SONA tuwing ika-4 na Lunes ng Hulyo kasabay sa pagbubukas ng Kongreso para sa regular na sesyon nito kada taon. Si dating Pangulong Manuel Quezon ang kauna-unahang naghayag ng SONA sa bansa na may titulong Message to the First Assembly on National Defense noong November 25, 1935. Ginanap ito sa Assembly Hall ng Legislative Building sa lungsod ng Maynila. May isang beses lang na hindi nakaharap ng personal ang isang Pangulo sa Kongreso. Inihayag ni dating Pangulong Elpidio Quirino ang kanyang SONA noong January 23, 1950 sa joint session ng Kongreso sa pamamagitan ng radyo sa Estados Unidos habang nagpapagaling ito sa isang ospital sa Maryland, USA. Noong 1979, sinimula ni dating Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Sr. ang pagsasagawa ng SONA sa batasang pambansa tuwing ika-4 na Lunes ng Hulyo, alinsunod sa mga probisyon ng 1973 at 1987 Constitution. Matapos naman na hindi nagbigay ng SONA si dating Pangulong Corazon Aquino na nagdeklara ng revolusyonaryong pamahalaan noong 1986, naihayag nito ang kanyang unang ulat sa bayan sa Session Hall ng Batasang Pambansa sa pagbabalik ng Kongreso noong 1987. Isinagawa rin ng mga dating Pangulong sina Fidel B. Ramos, Joseph Ejercito Estrada, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Benigno Aquino III at Rodrigo Duterte ang kanilang SONA sa parehong bulwagan. Ang gaganaping SONA ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ngayong araw ang ika-85 mula noong 1935 at ika-36 mula nang maipanumbalik ang demokrasya sa ilalim ng ika-5 Republika noong 1987. Nakabatay naman sa tradisyon na parliamentary procedure na sinusunod sa buong mundo ang mga aktibidad na gagawin sa mismong SONA. Sa umaga, isasagawa rito ang pagboto ng Kamara at Senado kung sila'y magkakaroon ng bagong pinuno at ang pagpasa sa mga resolusyong bago mag-adjourn ang sesyon ng Kongreso. Alas 4 ng hapon ang schedule ng SONA kung saan maaring mag-land travel o mag-helicopter ang Pangulo papunta sa Batasang Pambansa Complex. May simbolismo rin ang kanyang pagdating sa venue. Magiging escort niya ang pinakamataas na opisyal ng Armed Forces of the Philippines. Ngunit magte-take over naman ang Sergeant at Arms ng mababang kapulungan pagdating sa entrance ng Batasang Pambansa. Simbolo ito ng separation of powers sa pagitan ng executive at legislative branches ng pamahalaan. Sasamahan naman ng Senate President at House Speaker ang Pangulo.
Honorable members of Congress of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr., President of the Republic of the Philippines. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Allow me to greet Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte, the former presidents, our former presidents, President Joseph Ejercito Estrada and President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri, and the honorable members of the Senate, House Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez, and the honorable members of the House of Representatives, Chief Justice Alexander Gismundo, and the Honorable Justices of the Supreme Court, His Excellency, Most Reverend Charles John Brown, and the esteemed members of the Diplomatic Corps, Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin and the members of the Cabinet, First Lady Luis Araneta Marcos, former First Lady Imelda Romualdez Marcos, other distinguished guests, mga minamahal kong kababayan, ladies and gentlemen, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. 1 year ago today, I stood here before you, setting forth the plans that we have to improve our economy, bring jobs to our people, improve the ease of doing business, recalibrate our educational system to adapt to the new economy, lower and rationalize energy costs, boost agricultural production, enhance healthcare, and continue social programs for the poor. And the vulnerable. Let me now report to the people on the successes that we can now lay claim to, and also the challenges that we continue to face. Last year, we emphasized certain strong headwinds that were confronting us along with the rest of the world in our post-pandemic economic recovery. And the biggest problem that we encountered was inflation. Maraming kaganapan sa mundo ang nakapagpagulos sa maayos na takbo ng pandaigdigang merkado. Bukod sa digmaan sa Ukraine, naroon ang patuloy na epekto ng pandemya. Pinalala pa ito ng pagbabawas ng produksyon ng mga bansang pinagkukuhanan natin ng langis. Nang tumaas ang presyo nito, nagsunura na rin ang presyo ng iba't ibang bilihin, ang gasolina, ang kuryente at ang pagkain. Ramdam sa buong daigdig, pati na sa Pilipinas, ang naging pagtaas ng mga presyo ng bilihin noong mga nakalipas na buwan. Sinuri nating mabuti ang sitwasyon. Sa tulong ng ating mga ekonomista, nakapagbalangkas tayo ng mga polisiya na magsisilbing pundasyon ng ating ekonomiya sa mga susunod na taon. Ito ay nakasaad sa ating medium-term fiscal framework na sinuportahan ninyo sa Kongreso. Kasabay nito ang paglulunsad ng mga estratehiya na mapalakas sa kakayahan ng ating mga kababayan at mga sektor ng ating ekonomiya. Nakakita po tayo ng magagandang resulta. While the global prospects were bleak, our economy posted a 7.6% growth in 2022, our highest growth rate in 46 years. For the first quarter of this year, our growth has registered at 6.4%. It remains within our target of 6 to 7% for 2023. We are still considered to be amongst the fastest growing economies in the Asian region and in the world. It is a testament to our strong macroeconomic fundamentals. Our financial system, the nerve center of our economy, remains strong and stable. Banks, the transmission arms of our monetary policy, have strong capital and liquidity positions. Stimulated by the relaxation of pandemic restrictions, transactions once again have flourished alongside the booming e-commerce that was undeterred by the pandemic in 2022. The digital economy contributed 2 trillion pesos, the equivalent of 9.4% of our GDP. The economy is revived and rejuvenated, backstopped by a favorable enabling environment and the strong rule of law. This year, the World Bank projects a 6% overall growth rate, well within the range of our targets for the year. It is anchored on strong local demand, underpinned by consumer spending and draw strength from the BPO industry and, of course, the steady flow of remittances and the continuing jobs recovery. Inflation rate is moving in the right direction. From 8.7% in January, our inflation has continued to ease up in all regions, settling now at 5.4% for June. What this means is that in spite of all the difficulties, we are transforming the economy. We are stabilizing the prices of all critical commodities. According to the Bangko Sentral, inflation is expected to ease further by the close of the year and projected at 2.9% by 2024. On matters of the economy, there are many things over which we have no control. But over those where we do have control, we are doing everything we can. Puspusan ang ating ginagawa upang pataasin ang produksyon ng ating ekonomiya. Pinapalago natin ang mga industriya. Dinadagdagan natin ang mga infrastruktura upang mas mapabilis ang daloy ng mga produkto at ng serbisyo. Higit sa lahat, pinapalakas natin ang kakayahan ng mga mamamayan upang mapaganda nila ang kanilang pamumuhay. Ito ang punot dulo ng ating Philippine Development Plan. Investments in public infrastructure and in the capacity of our people through food, education, health, jobs, and social protection remain our top priority. For this year, economic and social services were allocated almost 70% of the national budget. Higher revenue collections will be critical in our bid to bolster public investments. Under our fiscal framework, we envision our tax and revenue efforts to further increase to up to 16.9% and 17.3% by 2028. Revenue generation has improved this year. From January to May, the Bureau of Internal Revenue has posted record collections amounting to 1.05 trillion pesos, an increase of almost 10% over the last year. For its part, the Bureau of Customs has also increased its collection by 7.4% for the first 7 months of 2023, amounting to 476 billion pesos. Since July 2022, we have seen increased revenues from PAGCOR of 47.9% and from the PCSO of 20%. We therefore seek, once again, the continued support of Congress to enact into law the policies and reforms under our fiscal framework. Sa mga nakalipas na buwan, nakita natin ang pagbaba ng presyo ng bilihin sa iba't ibang mga sektor. Napatunayan natin na kayang maipababa ang presyo ng bigas, karne, isda, gulay at asukal. Malaking tulong ang Kadiwa Stores na ating muling binuhay at inilunsad. Ang layunin ng Kadiwa ay pagtugnayin ang mga magsasaka at ang mga mamimili. Walang iba pang namamagitan. Wala nang dagdag na gastos at patong. Maganda ang kita ng magsasaka, nakakatipid din ang mga mamimili. Sa mahigit 7,000 kadiwa na idinaos sa buong Pilipinas, 1.8 million na pamilya ang nakinabang sa mababang presyo ng bilihin. Sa kabuuan, halos 700 milyong piso ang naging benta ng mga ito na nakapagbigay ng hanap buhay sa mga miyembro ng mahigit 3,000 na kooperatiba at samahan. Maganda ang nakita nating resulta, kaya papalawigin pa natin ang Kadiwa sa buong bansa. Kamakailan lamang ay nagsanib puwersa na ang mga ahensya ng pamahalaan upang lalo pang patibayin ang Kadiwa. Katuwang natin dito ang buong sektor ng agrikultura at ang lokal na pamahalaan. Our aim is to boost our local agricultural production through consolidation, modernization, mechanization, and improvement of value chains, augmented by timely and calibrated importation as needed. Nakita nating tumaas ng 2.2% ang sektor ng agrikultura sa unang 3 buwan ng taong ito. In our quest for food security, our methods are now more guided by science and the balance of nature, so that production is both sustainable and responsible, benefiting both this and future generations. Our fisheries codes must be revised to incorporate and strengthen science-based analysis and determination of fishing areas. This approach will protect both the interests of our fisherfolk and our fisheries and aquatic resources. To this end, we will seek the support of Congress to amend the code to guarantee sustainable development of our fisheries sector in harmony with environmental balance. Ipinagbubuklod natin ang mga magsasaka sa pamamagitan ng farm and fisheries clustering at mga livestock multiplier farms. 300 cluster na ang ating natukoy na binubuo ng halos 900 kooperatiba at may lawak na mahigit na 200,000 hektarya ng bukirin. Upang mas mapabilis at mas mapadali ang pagbuo ng kooperatiba, kakailanganin natin ang suporta ng Kongreso na maamyendahan ang Cooperative Code. Sa pamamagitan nito, unti-unting lalakas ang kanilang produksyon at puwersa sa merkado. Totoo ang kasabihan, mas malapas basta't sama-sama. Pinapalawak natin ang kanilang kaalaman sa makabagong mga teknolohiya at pamamaraan. Isa na rito ang paggamit ng biofertilizer na gawa sa Pilipinas at subok din at maaasahan. Sa balanced fertilizer strategy, gaganda ang ani ng mga magsasaka. Hindi na nila kailangan pang umasa sa mas mahal at imported na fertilizer. Bilang tulong sa mga magsasaka, namigay ang pamahalaan ng mahigit 28,000 mga makabagong makinarya at mga kagamitan sa iba't ibang dako ng Pilipinas. Sa ilalim ng iba't ibang mga programa ng kagawaran ng agrikultura, namigay ang pamahalaan ng mahigit na 50 milyong binhi ng palay, mahigit 1 milyong binhi ng mais at sari-saring mga binhi ng gulay. Nagpamigay tayo ng mahigit 100,000 binhi ng nyug at nagpatanim sa halos 10,000 hektarya ng lupa sa buong bansa. Lahat ng mga binhi ito ay makabago, hybrid at mataas ang kalidad. Sa naging pagtaas ng presyo ng gasolina at pataba, nagdala ng kaunting ginhawa ang mga fuel at fertilizer discount vouchers na ating pinamigay sa mga nahihirapang magsasaka. Ang mga natanggap nating donasyon na pataba mula sa China, pinimigay na natin kaagad sa kanila. Isa sa mga dahilan ng pagtaas ng presyo ay ang mga smuggler, mga hoarder at mga nagmamanipula ng presyo ng produktong agrikultural. Hinahabol at ihaabla natin sila. Sadyang hindi tama ang kanilang gawain at hindi rin ito tugma sa ating magandang layunin. Pandaraya ang kanilang ginagawa. Napapahamak hindi lamang ang mga magsasaka, kundi tayo rin mga mamimili. Kaya hindi natin papayagan ang ganitong kalakaran. Bilang na ang mga araw ng mga smuggler at hoarder na yan. Mahalaga ang infrastruktura para masuportahan ang may 14 milyong hektarya ng sakahan. Inayos natin ang geo-agri-map ng mga farm-to-market roads ng buong bansa upang maidugtong mabuti ang mga sakahan sa mga pamilihan. Alinsunod dito, karagdagang 600 kilometro ng mga FMR ang ating nitag sa iba't ibang panig ng bansa. Binigyan din natin ng patubig ang mahigit na 49,000 hektarya ng bukirin sa buong Pilipinas. Nagpagawa tayo ng halos 4,000 mga karagdagang fabrication lab, production at cold storage facility na magagamit ng lahat. Sa tulong ng Kongreso, nakapagpatayo tayo ng 24 na multi-species hatcheries upang maparami ang produksyon ng mga isda. Nakabantay tayo sa anumang banta ng mga sakit at peste na maaaring dumapo sa mga pananim at alagang hayop. Malapit tayo magkaroon ng mga epektibong gamot at bakuna labang sa mga ito. Samantala, pinapalakas natin ang biosecurity levels ng mga alagang hayop bilang panlaban sa sakit. Tayo rin ay naghahanda sa El Nino na nagbabadyang tumama sa mga darating na buwan. Nagsimula na tayong maghanda at ang mga buffer stock at ang mga kagamitang patubig ay hinahanda na. Kung kinakailangan, magsasagawa pa tayo ng cloud seeding upang makapagdala ng ulan. Kasabay ng lahat na ito, hinihimok din natin ang ating sambayanan na magtipid ng tubig para sa malawakang paghanda sa banta ng tagtuyot. Tulad ng ating ipinangako, ipinagpatuloy natin ang reformang pangsakahan. Mahalagang haligi ito ng sektor ng agrikultura na ating inaayos. Nitong nakalipas na taon, mahigit 70,000 titulo ng lupa ang ginawad sa mga benepisyaryo ng reformang agraryo. Tamang-tama ang ating pagpapatigil ng mga bayarin ng mga benepisyaryo sa ilalim ng ating nilagdahang EO number 4. Isang taon mula nung aking unang SONA na isabatas na ang bagong Agrarian Emancipation Act. Dahil dito, ang 57 billion piso ng utang na pinapasan ng mahigit 600,000 benepisyaryo ay tuluyan ng nabura. Sa ngalan ng mga magsasakang ito at ang kanilang mga pamilya, maraming salamat muli sa ating mga mambabatas. Ang tubig ay kasing halaga rin ng pagkain. Kailangan natin tiyakin na may sapat at malinis na tubig para sa lahat at sa mga susunod na salinlahi. Kasama na rito ang tubig na ginagamit natin para sa sakahan. Considering its fundamental importance, water security deserves a special focus. Our efforts must not be scattershot, but rather cohesive, centralized, and systematic. So given that urgency, we have created the Water Resources Management Office to specifically handle the delicate job involving this most precious resource. Nakikipag-ugnayan tayo sa Kongreso upang maipasa ang batas para sa pagbuo ng isang Department of Water Resource Management. This year, we have allocated 14.6 billion pesos for water supply projects, which will benefit communities all over the country. Recently, the water supply of NCR and Rizal received a significant boost. From the first phase of the Wawa Bulk Water Supply Project. The water supply will increase as the project enters the second phase. We have installed 6,000 rainwater collection systems across the country in preparation for the looming dry spell brought about by El Nino. One of the keys to continuing economic growth is infrastructure development. So we will build better and more. Our 8.3 trillion peso Build Better More program is currently in progress and being vigorously implemented. Ang buong bansa ay makikinabang sa 194 na proyekto sa ilalim ng programang ito. Hindi lamang natin pinapagpatuloy ang mga nasimulan ng mga proyekto, lalo pa natin pinapalawak. Kaya naman, ang 123 proyekto dito sa Build Better More program ay bago. The flagship projects cover investments in the areas of physical connectivity, water resources, agriculture, health, digital connectivity, and energy. Physical connectivity infrastructure, such as roads and bridges, seaports, airports, mass transport, account for 83% of this. Stay at 5 to 6%. The underlying logic to our infrastructure development is economic efficiency. We are opening up all gateways to mobilize goods and services at less cost and in less time, and ultimately to drive the economy forward. Our road network plans must link not only our 3 major islands, but all prospective sites of economic development. The 1,200-kilometer Luzon Spine Expressway Networks program will effectively connect Ilocos to Bicol from 20 hours to just 9 hours of travel. Under the Mega Bridge program, 12 bridges totaling 90 kilometers will be constructed, connecting islands and areas separated by waters. The program notably includes the Bataan-Cavite Interlink Bridge and the Panay-Guimaras-Negros Island bridges, each spanning 32 kilometers, and also the Samal Island Davao City Connector Bridge. As of June this year, we have constructed, maintained, and upgraded more than 4,000 kilometers of roads and around 500 bridges across the country. Crucial airport and port development projects across the country have also been completed, including Cebu Pier's 88 Smart Port and the new passenger terminal buildings of Clark Airport and the Port of Calapan. We initiated several railway projects with a total length of more than 1,000 kilometers. Notably, the southern leg of the north-south commuter railway system is now in full swing. In a few years, travel from Pampanga to Laguna will be reduced from 4 hours to just 2. Intermodal connectivity will also be a primary consideration. Roads, bridges, and mass transport systems will be interconnected. This network will provide access and passage to vital and bustling economic markets, such as agriculture hubs, tourism sites, and key business districts. For strategic financing, some of the nation's high-priority projects can now look to the newly established Maharlika Investment Fund without the added debt burden. In pooling a small fraction of the considerable but underutilized government funds, the funds shall be used to make high-impact and profitable investments, such as the Build Better More program. The gains from the fund shall be reinvested into the country's economic well-being. To ensure sound financial management, a group of internationally recognized economic managers shall oversee the operations of the fund, guided by the principles of transparency and accountability. This guarantees that investment decisions will be based on financial considerations alone, absent any political influence. The funds for the social security and public health insurance of our people shall remain intact and separate. Owing to favorable market conditions, the price of crude oil has stabilized. Since last year, gasoline and diesel prices have gone down by 18 to 29% respectively. We have built 8 new additional power plants, This brings to 17 the total number of power generation facilities that have been switched on across the country since last year, substantially increasing our energy production by 1,174 megawatts. Alongside power generation, we are also as relentless in pursuing total electrification. Since my assumption into office, almost 500,000 homes have been given access to electricity. We will spare no effort to achieve full household electrification by the end of my term. 100% is within our reach. When it comes to energy, renewable energy is the way forward. We are aggressively promoting renewables so that it provides a 35% share in the power mix by 2030 and then on to 50% by 2040. To accelerate the realization of this green energy goal, we have opened renewable energy 30 and then on to 50% by 2040. To accelerate the realization of this green energy goal, we have opened renewable energy projects to foreign investments, have been awarded. To date, we have over 1,000 active projects spread all over the country. 299 of these are solar, 187 are wind, 436 are hydroelectric, 58 biomass, 36 geothermal, and 9 are ocean powered. The Malampaya project has been a boon to our country, energizing 20% of Luzon. The renewal of the contract guarantees continued revenues and energy production for another 15 years. But aside from Malampaya, we will also push for more gas exploration in other parts of the country. The national government has also partnered with the BARM in regard to energy exploration and development, and also its utilization within its territorial jurisdiction. We therefore expect to see renewed investor interest in its promising sites. We finally have a unified national grid with the interconnection of the Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao grids. The one grid, one market will enable more efficient transfers and more competitive pricing of electricity throughout the country. However, 68 grid connections are much delayed, according to the ERC's count. We are conducting a performance review of our private concessionaire, the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines. We look to NGCP to complete all of its deliverables, starting with the vital Mindanao, Visayas, and Cebu Negros Panay interconnections. Habang pinapabuti natin ang lagay ng ekonomiya, pinapalakas din natin ang kakayahan ng Pilipino. Ito ay sa pamamagitan ng mahalagang armas ng edukasyon, magandang kalusugan at trabaho. Malaking bahagi ng pondo ng pamahalaan ay inilaan para sa mga ito. Sa ating pagtahak sa kaunlaran, walang mamamayang Pilipino ang maiiwanan. Para sa atin, ang bawat buhay ay mahalaga. Ano man ang edad, kasarian, pangkat, relihiyon o pisikal na kondisyon, sila ay kukupkupin at tutulungan. Naglalaan tayo ng sapat na pondo para sa mga paglingap ng mga lubos na nangangailangan. Layunin natin na sila ay makabangon, mabigyan ng sapat ng kakayahan at maging produktibo. Hindi lamang DSWD, kundi pati ang DOLE, ang DepEd, TESDA, CHED ay tumutulong sa ating mga kababayan nangangailangan. Ang AIX, TUPAD, PIVET for Social Equity, Social Pension for Indigent Senior Citizens, at ang Cash for Work para sa mga PWD. ay ilan lamang sa mga mahahalagang programa ng pamahalaan para sa kanila. Nariyan din ang Integrated Livelihood Program Kabuhayan upang matulungan ang mga maliliit na negosyo. We are inclusive in our pursuit of social protection. The pension of the military and the uniformed personnel is as important, as urgent, and as humanitarian as that of all other civilian Filipino employees. Efforts are underway to make it fully functional and financially sustainable. We are once again working closely with Congress to ease the transition from the old system to the new one, so as to be able to guarantee that no effects are felt by those in the uniformed services. Nagsisimula ang lahat sa edukasyon. Ito ay para palakasin ang isip at kakayahan ng bawat Pilipino. Ang ating butihing Vice Presidente na kalihim din ng kagawaran ng edukasyon ay tumutulong upang tiyakin na ang bawat batang Pilipino ay mabibigyan ng nararapat at kalidad na edukasyon. We have renewed hope in giving the best to our next batches of students, especially the 28.4 million learners who return to school this year. Learning recovery will be at the forefront of our education agenda. The Matatag Agenda for Basic Education has been launched, focusing on relevance of curriculum, rapid and responsive delivery, and the welfare of both learners and teachers. We are augmenting as well our school workforce. 90% of the newly created teaching positions have now been filled, while additional administrative personnel have been hired to unburden the teachers of any extra load. Taking to heart the lessons of the pandemic, alternative delivery modes and blended learning methodologies have been adopted to ensure unhampered learning. Additional social safety nets, such as school-based feeding programs, are also being implemented. Learners will be made more resilient. Our public schools and facilities are being increased and fortified. The shortage of classrooms and facilities is being addressed. Aside from new construction, schools and facilities are being retrofitted to become ready for the future, ready for hybrid and high-tech learning, and also climate-ready and disaster-proof. Through the DepEd Partnership Assistance Portal, private sector partners continue their assistance in the rehabilitation and improvement of schools as part of their corporate social responsibility programs. We are recalibrating the K-10 curriculum to ensure that it is always relevant, responsive, and at par with international standards. Literacy and numeracy skills need to be strengthened. The virtue of good citizenship and sense of community are also now integrated into our curriculum. We continue to exhaust all efforts to keep our young people away from the sinister influences in the dark corners of society. We are making available to them their participation in formal schooling, alternative learning, non-diploma courses, or in technical vocational education and training, or TVET. TVET continues to prove itself to be an empowering educational intervention. There are many examples of how its graduates have gone on to secure competitive technical jobs. Since last year, more than 1 million Filipinos graduated from the TVET, one-third of whom were TESDA scholars. More and more of our higher education institutions have reached world-class status. This year, 52 Philippine HEIs have been included in the World Universities rankings compared to just 15 last year. We will not let a student's financial constraints be an hindrance to his education, his or her education. We have activated social safety nets, such as skills development training and youth employment programs. Tertiary education in state universities and colleges will remain free for our qualified students. Last year, out of the 4.1 million enrolled college students, almost 50% were beneficiaries of the country's free higher education under the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education program. Deserving and talented students without the financial capacity to attend school will not be left behind in this education agenda. A culture of innovation, working hand in glove with a culture of entrepreneurship, must be fostered. This is Philippinovation. Science and technology, especially R&D, will be at its foundation. The DOST leads the development of our capabilities in science, technology, and innovation. Science and technology-related scholarships are made available for the talented and technically gifted students from high school all the way to graduate school. To address the challenge of staying at the cutting edge of technology, 44 renowned Filipino scientists in diverse areas of expertise have returned home under the Balik Scientist program. They will undertake research in various priority fields and will be supported by upgraded facilities and R&D funding. The Philippines has launched 2 additional satellites into space. Together with the first satellite, they will track weather, predict storms, evaluate soil and water supplies, analyze shifts in population, and be used for traffic management, geohazard mapping, risk assessment, and even including security and defense. Science, technology, and innovation will drive the quality and competitiveness of our workforce, as well as our manufacturing, export, creative, and service industries, in existing markets and in new ones waiting to be explored. The bane of the mismatch between jobs and skills among our workforce is being rectified through strengthened government, industry, labor, academic partnerships, and the continuous reskilling and upskilling training programs that we have put before our workforce. For our seafarers to continue to excel, maritime education in the Philippines has been strengthened. This will progress and solidify our country's position as a global maritime hub through the steady supply of competent Filipino seafarers to foreign merchant marine vessels. The question about the European Union's recognition of the standards of training of Filipino seafarers has, after 17 years, finally been resolved. This development now effectively maintains the Filipino seafarers' distinct competitive advantage in the global shipping labor market. To address the current shortage of healthcare professionals in our country and to help us achieve our goal of universal healthcare, we are greatly expanding our medical and nursing education programs. We will push the envelope even further. We are helping nursing graduates hurdle their board exams so that they will obtain their licenses and join our pool of healthcare professionals. Ang kalusugan ang ikalawang armas para sa lakas ng pangangatawan ng bawat Pilipino. Isinusulong natin muli ang kalusugan ng Pilipino. We are now refocusing our health priorities, applying the lessons learned from the pandemic and addressing the weaknesses that it has exposed. Healthier communities and lifestyles are our advocacy. We have launched convergent programs to address hunger and nutrition-related issues amongst our people, especially the children, like stunting and wasting. Last week, we introduced the pilot food stamp program, which seeks to supply the nutrition needs of the million most food-poor Filipinos. The FSP shall complement our nutrition continuity programs, such as the first 1,000 days program, which ensures nourishment for the first 3 years of a child's life. The supplemental feeding program is for our children attending daycare centers. The K-6 program will feed kindergarten to grade 6 public school students who are suffering from wasting and severe malnutrition. We are catching up on the routine vaccinations of our children. As of this year, more than 80% of our eligible children have been vaccinated against measles, rubella, and polio. Nananawagan ako sa lahat ng mga magulang na kumpletuhin ang mga bakuna ng kanilang mga anak at magtungo sa pinakamalapit na health center para sa mga libreng bakuna. The whole of society must exert efforts to suppress the alarming rise of tuberculosis and HIV/AIDS. To stem the tide, the strategic plan is to ensure early diagnosis and treatment and ample testing sites and medications. Our healthcare system is undergoing structural changes. Public health facilities are being increased, both in number and in capability. Last year, more than 3,400 projects were completed to improve capacity for specialized medical treatment. Specialty centers in various fields are being established and integrated into our government hospitals. And in the last year, additional 60 specialty centers have been opened to the public. Just last week, we inspected the site of what will soon be a 5-hectare multi-specialty center in Pampanga, which will specialize in pediatrics, cardiology, kidney, and cancer treatment. We are working for a more direct, efficient delivery of services through integrated primary care providers and networks in partnerships with the LGUs and our partners in the private sector. These shall, of course, be supported by what is now a better and more efficient PhilHealth. Ang presyo ng mga mahalaga at pangunahing gamot ay bumaba ng humigit kumulang ng 40%. Mayroon ding iba na bumaba na hanggang 70%. Aside from the maximum retail price regulation being implemented, strategic VAT exemptions also lowered the prices of 59 essential medications such as those for cancer, diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease, and mental illness. Palapit na tayo. Palapit na tayo sa hangarin na ang lahat ng Pilipino ay makakakuha ng serbisyong pangkalusugan. Sa ngayon, mahigit 93% na ang kasapi sa PhilHealth. Sa pinagandang konsulta package ng PhilHealth, 21 klase ng mga gamot at 13 laboratory service ang ibibigay ng libre. Ngayon, meron na tayong mahigit 2,000 konsulta center sa buong bansa. Ang bilang na ito ay mas marami ng 35% mula nung nakalipas na taon. Upang mas lalo pang makatulong sa mga pasyente, ang dating 70 libreng dialysis session ay inakyat na natin sa 156. Mga kababayan, libre na po ngayon ang dialysis para sa karamihan ng Pilipino. Noong nakalipas na taon, mahigit 3.4 milyon na Pilipino ang nabigyan ng tulong sa ilalim ng Medical Assistance for Indigent Patients program ng DOH. Tinutugunan natin ngayon ang ating kakulangan sa mga doktor at mga nurse sa pamamagitan ng mga reforma sa edukasyon, patuloy na pagsasanay at paniniguro sa kanilang kapakanan. Naglagay po tayo ng doktor sa halos 200 munisipyo sa bansa. Lalagyan natin din ng doktor ang natitirang 19 na bayan na wala pang doktor. Upang masuklian naman natin ang naging sakripisyo ng ating mga health workers sa pribado at pampubliko ng mga ospital nung nakaraang pandemya, ipapamahagi na sa kanila ang kanilang COVID Health Emergency Allowance at iba pang mga nabinbing benepisyo. Kasabay ng pangangalaga natin sa edukasyon at kalusugan ng ating mamamayan, tinitiyak din natin na may sapat at magandang hanap buhay sa loob at maging sa labas ng bansa. As of May this year, our employment rate rose to 95.7%, clear proof of the improvement from the severe unemployment that we experienced during the height of the pandemic. Employment then was at a low of 82.4%. But even with our current high level of employment, we must do more. We will generate additional jobs for the remaining 4.3% of our workforce, as well as for the 11.7% underemployed Filipinos seeking better employment opportunities. Under the banner of our fast-growing economy, we are aggressive in our investment and business promotions and facilitations. For that, we have not limited ourselves to the local economy, but we have looked to the global economy for partnerships and agreements. Our independent foreign policy, a friend to all and enemy of none, has proven effective. We have formed strategic alliances with our traditional and newfound partners in the international community. We have embarked on foreign trips to promote the interests of the country for peace building and for mutually beneficial purposes. These economic missions have yielded an estimated total investment value of 3.9 trillion pesos or 71 billion US dollars, with a potential to generate 175,000 jobs. The implementation of recent economic reforms is underway. BOI-approved investment projects have reached 1.2 trillion pesos during our first year, while other strategic investments approved for processing through the newly established green lanes amount now to 230 billion pesos. Our existing bilateral and multilateral trade agreements, notably within the ASEAN framework, and with Japan and with Europe, and allow us to leverage our competitive advantages and reap economic benefits. We will continue to forge more of these international partnerships that will lead to a more balanced trade strategy and a healthier economic position. The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, is now in force. It is a multilateral trade arrangement with the ASEAN and other countries such as Australia, China, Japan, Korea, and New Zealand. We can now have competitive access to a regional market that comprises 2 billion people. As we address our weaknesses and develop competitiveness in other potential areas, we must also play to our strengths. Our competitive advantage must be leveraged. As a service export powerhouse, we must continue to nurture the growth of the services sector, particularly the information technology business process management sector, and of course, the tourism industry. Our tourism has always been a reliable pillar of our economic growth through the years, providing livelihood to more than 5 million of our citizens. Because of the reopening of the economy and the phenomenon of revenge travel, this sector is headed for a great rebound. From January to June this year, we have received 3 million international visitors. This number is already 62% of our 4.8 million target for the entire year. Mga kababayan, ang lahat ng mga ginagawa natin ito ay magbibigay bunga sa libu-libong hanap buhay para sa ating mga kababayan. To create these investment opportunities, we must ensure that an enabling business environment is in place, that there is peace and order, and that the rule of law governs. We will solidify our